So the Nintendo Switch 2 reveal situation just took a big exciting turn because we have a number of new names within the gaming industry talking about mainstream reporters and journalists that are going on record stating that they are hearing something about this console potentially being revealed as soon as this month. Now there's some talk and debate with one of the sources that maybe it slides into early October, but if you were somebody who was on Team 2025 for just our first look trailer at this console, it now very much seems like that is not the case. In addition to that, we have some double down and reconfirmation that backwards compatibility will indeed be intact when this console ships on retail shelves, which is something I've been expecting the entire time, especially considering some of the inside leaks that we've seen from manufacturers and things around it. Seems like backwards compatibility is a lock, but we now have yet another voice chiming in on that. So we have a lot to get through in today's video. Before we dive into everything, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on your bell notification to join Sunbro Nation if you're new here. And we have to first start off with going through a few different data points that are separate from the previous ones we've covered. So we have talked about recently on the channel sources like PH Brazil and them claiming that Nintendo would be moving multiple direct presentations forward into the end of August instead of their original scheduled time in late September to ultimately bring forward some Switch 2 plans. All these new reports are coming from completely separate sources from PH Brazil, but that did seem to lead a lot of credence to the idea that Nintendo could be gearing up for some kind of potential console reveal in September, because they never clear out the month of September entirely, and we saw them hold all their directs, cram two of them together with the Indie World and a partner showcase, and there's no indication that we should expect a traditional September Nintendo Direct like we've done legitimately every other single year in the Nintendo Switch's life cycle. We've had a mainline September Nintendo Direct. That seems to be off the table this year, and they've also given us major updates on all of their upcoming 2024 games, leading you to believe that they're making room for some kind of massive standalone announcement potentially this month in September. And you first have head of GamesIndustry.biz Christopher Dring weighing in on this, where he posted on X the following: with industry whispers around something Switch 2 related happening this month, I thought I'd remind everyone of the official list of the greatest game consoles of all time, Nintendo Switch 1 and everyone else too. Now Andy Robinson from VGC then chimed in this conversation and clarified, maybe don't bet anything for certain with Nintendo, but he had this to say: seems like a bunch of press have heard this, but I still wouldn't bet my house on it. Well-known industry analyst David Gibson weighed in on this and said, think it might be September 18th through the 26th or in early October, avoid Tokyo Game Show. Then he pointed out something major, which does line into some reports that we talked about a few weeks back on the channel, which seemed to suggest that Nintendo's doing everything to ramp up mass production for this console. And he said, no one seems to have noticed, but the Nintendo assembler Hoseiden is spending 2 billion yen on production equipment and 1 billion yen on automation in fiscal year 325 for its major customer in amusement, Nintendo. I still expect September news and March 2025 release for next device. So you don't have to put all the stock in the world into these rumors, but it does appear from numerous sources that some backroom chatter, some behind the scenes talk from whether it be developers, publishers, or just people in the know getting things ready for something like a first look or first reveal trailer of the next gen console are coming forward stating that September seems like the likely month that Nintendo is indeed gearing up for this thing. It would be very nice to see this drop ahead of Tokyo Game Show, because that is a pretty well-known widespread industry event, and it's going to have a lot of third-party games there that may be able to also be announced for Nintendo's next gen console if this console is indeed revealed before then. If we are to believe it to take place this month, I do personally like David Gibson's dates of the 16th through the 18th. I could definitely see Nintendo making a surprise announcement one morning saying join us tomorrow at X time in the morning, where you can have a look at our next gen hardware for the first time. If the timing being suggested here from the backroom chatter is off, like Andy Robinson saying he wouldn't bet his entire house on it, well, then that could indeed be the case, but what seems the most likely plan B to go ahead at that point would be an October reveal. And we have seen sources like PH Brazil suggest that things are going to very much loosely stick close to what the original Switch 1 reveal timeline was, and that was an October 1st look trailer and ultimately a March 2017 release. So we are right in the time zone either way of Nintendo being ready to reveal this thing, and to some comments online that seem to be in the mindset of Nintendo not wanting to hurt their holiday sales by revealing this console ahead of the holiday sales period. Well, Nintendo in their own investor briefing has very much clearly pointed out that they are in the mindset of propping up Switch 2 to have the best possible launch, and are looking at things from a long-term perspective and don't mind sacrificing some current fiscal year numbers and performance to set up a longer-term profit and success path for their successor hardware. And that would very much fall in line with the strategic move of like starting to promote it this year, even though we're not going to get it until something like a March or April 2025 launch. With that pointed out, I would like to then transition the conversation to provide the brief update around the reconfirmation from a reliable source, once again stating that, yeah, this thing has backwards compatibility, just like we've seen accessory manufacturers and internal leaks suggest. As you can see, Nate the Hate actually chimed in recently on a comment thread over on the R Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit, where they were basically talking about that mass production talk from Poseidon, and he just shows up in the comments and says it has backwards compatibility support. When you look at this from a logic standpoint, it just makes all the sense in the world, because what Nintendo has successfully built up in the Nintendo Switch's generation, even more than any other prior generation, is massively successful selling software that is evergreen, that continues to sell, performing very well. I mean, they are still moving mass units of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, a 2014 Wii U game when it was originally released, on the Nintendo Switch, and it's 61 million units and going strong. No indication of it ever continuing to fall off a cliff in terms of sales. It literally performs pretty consistently, even this late after that game was originally released. You still have the Super Smash Bros. Ultimates of the world, Animal Crossing New Horizons, Zelda Breath of the Wild, and Tears of the Kingdom still pumping out numbers, and a number of different Pokemon games that they're going to want to just transition those evergreen, massive, smash hit success titles over to the next hardware and continue to sell them. And that's also going to help them offset things like a holiday dip, with maybe some people not choosing to go out and get the current family of Switch consoles because they actually want to wait until early next year to pick up the next gen version, but they might still pick up all of the software that Nintendo is releasing on the current Switch in 2024 if it is advertised and communicated to us, like I believe it will be in their first look trailer, that all of your Switch 1 library of games seamlessly work with this next gen hardware from a physical and digital perspective, because Nintendo is very much still a company at this point in time that believes in physical games, and it's still where a lot of their sales come from. So they're going to support both, in my opinion. I think that's a foregone conclusion, and it will be outlined in whatever first look trailer we get, which will then translate to consistent software sales throughout the rest of 2024. But when you stop and look around and add up all of the different movements that we've seen Nintendo do that are out of character for this year, such as off-timing directs, the very first direct of the year was a partner showcase in February instead of a mainline presentation, and we then never got a mainline presentation shortly thereafterwards. We had to wait all the way until their traditional June-September direct, which was the big first-party blowout direct where we got all the announcements of the new games for the rest of the 2024 roadmap. And I pointed out and have been talking about for a while that it seems like Nintendo pretty much set themselves up to go all the way to February with their next mainline direct, because they revealed Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, a game that's out in January 2025 that would have been a shoe-in reveal for some kind of September presentation. And of course, now that we've seen them hold a yet another partner showcase, the second one of the year, and an indie world together at the tail end of August, the writing is on the wall that they are not holding a traditional September direct, especially with the blowout information of all of their new first-party games that are launching the rest of this year. So there are all those arrows pointing. Now you have all of these different media outlets and journalists all commenting and kind of corroborating the same story and idea, which is that we are right around the corner in September or October at the latest, geared up and ready to go for an official next-gen Nintendo console reveal. And I personally could not be more excited for that. But that's where I really want to hear from you guys at this point in the video. What do you make of the newest journalist talk online around Nintendo gearing up for this reveal to happen as soon as this month that we are in? And are you team September now and think that that's when it's going to happen? You think October is the more likely month? Or regardless of all these reports, do you still think there's a world that Nintendo doesn't talk about or reveal this hardware until January, February, or or March of next year. I am not in that camp, but I would love to hear your thought process if you are. And do you think this will be a much bigger in-depth first look trailer where we maybe learn about a lot of first-party games also launching in the Nintendo Switch 2's launch lineup? Or do you think it'll be pretty similar to the first look trailer that we saw for the original Nintendo Switch, where it's just that 3.5 minute brief hardware overview, and we really have to wait until early next year to get the more blowout detailed event that actually outlines everything the console is capable of? So make sure you share all your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below before you leave, regardless if we agree or disagree. Also make sure you like, subscribe, turn your notification bell. And with that, I've been Sunbro, you've been Nation. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.